What's going on, y'all? My name is Joltage, and today I'm gonna do an LCUU video because I'm on the LCUU council and I just felt like it. We got a crazy shift today. We're gonna be talking about the Isle of Armor expansion, how that's affected LCUU with its first shift. And I'm gonna go through all the Pokemons that have been brought to LCUU. And go over how I think that they'll do in the metagame while they're down here. Some things I don't expect to stay down here for very long, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah, first we'll start by going over what we lost, and that was Grookey and Scorbunny. Obviously, both starters got their hidden abilities released recently, and as a result have seen increased usage and have moved on to LCOU. Grookey, I don't expect to ever come back. Scorbunny, I could see coming back eventually because it's not that stellar in LCOU, but it's okay. Anyway, now moving on to the good thing, we got a ton of new stuff added to LCUU this month, and let's just go over them. So this is a big list of them all. I'm gonna go through each of them, talk about what I think they're gonna do, and just give my general thoughts on them. We're gonna start with the mons that were already in the game that just so happened to drop down as a result of the changes. And first up, we've got the boy Scraggy. So Scraggy, obviously, is an excellent setup sweeper with its Dragon Dance, as well as its and its ability to just be bulky and so it can just set up on more things. It's been struggling in LCOU for a while between its struggles getting past Spritzy and Marini, and just having Timber be so good. It's being outshone by Mienfoo now that that's back. But Scraggy doesn't have these issues in UU, and it's looking to be a threat unlike it has been since its BW days. We don't really have that great of checks around. We have stuff that can live a hit. Pancham can live 14 defense. Pancham can live a +1 high jump kick, but not super easily. Croagunk needs some chip for its vacuum wave to be able to deal a job because Scraggy's so bulky, and just our more defensive stuff other than say Oddish, who we also got, isn't really threatening to like take Scraggy out. And for Oddish to do that, it'd have to run Moonblast, though if Scraggy's around, that could be potentially worthwhile. Stuff like Shellos can clear Smog, which is obviously nice, but other things that can take a hit, like say Hippo, all Hippo can really do is whirlwind it out. I guess Hippo could run Superpower if it wanted to, but I don't know if that's really that great. But yeah, so Scraggy's looking very threatening. I'm very afraid of how potentially warping it could be. But we'll have to wait and see. Next up, we've got Shelder, because of course we have Shelder. Unlike Scraggy, Shelder doesn't have as many tools to get past its checks, because Shelder's checks are going to be primarily bulky waters. We've got Shellos, we've got Frillish, we've got Slowpoke, we've got and so like bulky waters, as well as things like Cubone can check at least once, but the bulky waters specifically are gonna have more longevity to stick around, and Shelder can't really tech anything that's gonna just actually bust past them as much. So I'm more comfortable with Shelder being around, though obviously it is very scary, especially for some underprepared teams. Definitely make sure you have your Shelder checks in order. Croagunk can help with its vacuum wave, but I do believe you need at least a little bit of chip on that for that to go down. Moving on, we've got Dwebble. Dwebble, honestly, the hazard set alone would be excellent in LCUU. But if you add the fact that it can shell smash on you, and it's like primary check in LCOU, being Timber isn't around, it's not really got that much priority to worry about in general. Just like Croagunk, Vacuum Wave, I guess, maybe Squirtle, Aqua Jet. If they decide to run that, though that's not very common, I don't think. Like other than that, like Dwebble's looking real strong. It can hit all of the like really bulky stuff other than Hippo super effectively with its coverage. It can knock off Frillish. It can it also can't hit Shellos, but it can knock off Frillish. I don't know. Dwebble's just looking pretty scary right now. And obviously Sturdy Juice gives it about 3 lives. Yeah, dude, Dwebble will be another excellent Pokemon. And to round out the quad of just obviously excellent Pokemon, we've got Ponyta Galar. Ponyta Galar, or Galarian Ponyta, is not at all something that I expected to drop into LCUU ever, because it's still pretty good in LCOU. But I think it's just going to be even better here. It doesn't have Abra to compete with in a direct niche. It doesn't even have to run special every time because Pharaoh Seed's not here. It can get away with physical. You can get away with physical Ponyta Galar. You can run things like Wild Charge, High Horsepower, as well as Zen Headbutt and Play Rough. You don't have to worry about Trapinch coming in to trap you, so you don't need to have Protect all the time. You can run your Morning Suns, you can run your Sub, you can run your Calm Minds. Ponyta Galar is looking very good to me, and I think will definitely have a heavy impact on the meta while it's around. I don't know if it's going to be quick banned at some point, but we'll just have to wait and see. Next up, we've got Croagunk. Croagunk is making its return to LCUU this gen. It obviously was around previously back in around March, and I expect it's going to come back and do a pretty similar thing. It's an excellent utility mon, provides good knockoff support. A water immunity is always nice. It can set up sweep itself with Nasty Plot. It could potentially try running a bulk up set in LCUU with a bit more effectiveness than it can in higher tiers. It doesn't have to worry about being trapped other than by Wynot, but Wynot can't even do that very well against Croagunk, between the fact that Croagunk can run mixed sets and just like +2 Sludge Wave, I'm pretty sure blows Wynot back. So yeah, Croagunk should be quite good and should remain in LCUU for at least a little bit, or at least this month. I don't foresee Croagunk ever getting banned by the council, at least. Next up, we have Pancham. Pancham, the once and former king of LCUU, is not looking as stellar nowadays, being a little overshadowed by the likes of Scraggy. Pony G's obviously a major problem for Pancham, but it's not like Pancham's gonna be useless. It's not like it's not gonna be good. Its coverage, its ability to get past its checks is, other than like its defensive checks, is almost unrivaled in fighters, and that Mold Breaker knockoff will prove pretty good against another returning mon, which we can see on the screen there, Shellos, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Pancham's still going to be good. He's just not going to be the king like he was last generation, along with Archon and the next mon on the list, Frillish, who, in my opinion, in Sun and Moon LCUU, was the best mon. Frillish is back. It's going to do its thing. Bulky waters are excellent. This Frillish being back is awesome in the fact that we actually have some bulky waters now between it, Shellos, the newly coming Slowpoke. They're all, and even Tentacool, they're all going to be providing some nice options for more defensive teams. As up to this point, LCUU has been an extremely just offense-focused metagame, just because we haven't had the defensive mons to deal with it. We just haven't had many defensive mons, and the defensive mons we do have haven't necessarily like synergized well together. Like Hippo is probably our best like actual defensive mon, but like as far as spinners go, our best spinner's Baltoy, and you don't really want to be running Baltoy plus Hippo. I mean, you can, but and our defog was not great. I mean, I'm kind of digressing at this point. The point is, Frillish is going to be sick. It even has some extra like versatility over its other bulky water counterparts in the fact that it has that really fun scarf set. You can run Water Spout, Psychic, Shadow Ball, Energy Ball, whatever. And surprise some folks expecting a defensive Frillish, but the defensive set will obviously be very good. Willow Hex, Scald, Recover. You can run Strength Sap if you want. You can run Taunt if you want. Frillish is excellent. Next up, we got Oddish, who's been pushed down to LCUU for the first time this gen, now that Fungus, our favorite mushroom, has returned. Oddish is going to be pretty good. It does not, it can't run Chlorophyll anymore, despite what, despite the fact that the ability's listed, because Chlorophyll's been banned. But, you know, in exchange for not having a strong, like an actual ability, a useful one, it does get Strength Sap, which is broken. I mean, Oddish is going to be really good to check any physical attackers that aren't like ice types or fire types, because we don't even really have that many flying types, especially not ones that actually like running flying coverage. If you're running flying coverage on your Woobats and Natus, why? Just why? You really don't need to, so don't. But yeah, no, Oddish is going to be really good. It's pretty much going to be competing directly with like Bulbasaur and Budew in terms of that grass poison archetype, but where Bulbasaur has knockoff and Budew has spikes, Oddish has Strength Sap. So really it's up to you on, you know, which one you want to run. And lastly, we've got Shellos, East version all day. Don't use that pink one, it's ugly. But Shellos is always excellent in LCUU. It's so bulky, it can't be knocked off except by like Mold Breaker knockoff, which only Pancham has access to, and it just kind of invalidates a lot of things. If your team cannot get past Shellos, you've got a bad team. Always make sure you have your ways to get past Shellos. Between like its ability to just like sit there and recover on your things, Scald burn them. It can acid. I mean, can it acid armor? I think it can acid armor. It can amnesia. It can you know, just curse if it wants to, set up on its own. It can even, but most importantly, it has Clear Smog, which I think while we have those 3 threatening setup sweepers up here in Scraggy, Shelder, Dwebble, the Clear Smog could prove invaluable for the time being. And yeah, I think Shellos is just going to be excellent because it always is. And lastly, we've got Woobat returning. Woobat's return is coinciding with the Grookey ban. We banned Woobat very recently because it was just able to abuse the grassy terrain set by Grookey more effectively than anything else. Nothing else really took that much advantage of it, but Woobat's Grassy Seed, Calm Mind, Stored Power set with Roost was just a pain in the ass to deal with. It wasn't completely impossible, but obviously, but it was ultimately deemed as not great for the metagame. But now that Grookey's gone, it can come back. It's gonna do what it did prior to Grookey getting Grassy Surge. You know, it's gonna set up with Combines or Nasty Plots. It's gonna try and sweep through your teams. It's gonna be a great mon on webs as it was previously. But those are all of the mons that we got that were already in the game that are coming to UU. A lot of these are going to have major impacts on LCUU moving forward. and some will probably get banned. Technically, we also got Vulpix, but Vulpix was only around for a week because of just when it was freed as well, and it still only barely missed the usage cutoff, so we determined that it was only here really by technicality. So we've already quick banned Vulpix. Vulpix would have been pretty cool, just as a very strong fire type, but yeah, but we're not gonna be able to see it. Anyway, let's get on to all of the new mons that dropped via the Isle of Armor expansion that are gonna make their homes in LCUU. We're just gonna go through this one alphabetically, and yeah. So first up, we've got Azurill. Azurill obviously has huge power, which, you know, doubles its attack stat, much like our guy Buneary. But Azurill, unlike Buneary, has the move Belly Drum, which can max out its attack and make Azurill somewhat threatening. It has Aqua Jet for some priority, as well as like Double Edge for actual stab. Azurill, I think, really suffers from not being a water type, but is still threatening, especially under certain circumstances such as Trick Room, and should find a niche in LCUU. Not going to be stellar or anything, but it should be a pretty okay. Next up, we've got Buneary. Buneary lost a lot between SM and SS because they took out Return. I was actually playing with it quite a bit toward the end of SM LCU as like fake out into Thunder Punch with Oko Archin, and I don't know, I just thought it was pretty cool. But it does still have things going for it. It is still a 19 speeder. It has fake out. It has pretty good coverage via the elemental punches. I think it got triple axle as well. But not having a good, strong, normal stab is going to be an issue for it. Like, you're going to have to resort to running Mega Kick if you really want something strong on this. Mega Kick is like normal type Focus Blast, and we know how relying on hitting Focus Blast can go for people. It's probably outclassed by Meowth and Minccino, but it's not like completely unjustifiable to run. I could see it being interesting at least. Next up, we've got Clauncher. Clauncher is another interesting mon. It got access to Flip Turn with the move Tutors as well, so it no longer has to run U-turn. It can Flip Turn out of things. It's got really good coverage. It has Aura Sphere now, so Helioptile isn't a completely free switch in like it might have been considered in the past. And it's got Terrain Pulse, which is boosted by Mega Launcher, though we don't have any auto terrain settings, so obviously that's not as cool. But the Terrain Pulse attack, if you do have terrain up, is quite strong. Clauncher will be kind of neat as a water type pivot along the same lines as Goldeen, but like more on the special side. It also will be competing with Scrub. I don't think it'll be top tier by any means, but I won't look at one and be like, what the hell is this guy doing, if that makes sense. So anyway, next up we've got Cubone. Cubone, with its should always be running Thick Club because that doubles its attack, and with that it becomes very threatening. I kind of see Cubone as a worse Buneary, with its lack of priority and its inability to run like things like Eviolite or Berry Juice. But Cubone does have the coverage to make a nightmare out of anything. It's got Thunder Punch, Knockoff, Fire Punch. Fire Punch isn't that necessary down in LCUU, but for some reason I felt like mentioning it. It can SD if you want to. I think Cubone is going to be a niche pick, mostly seen on webs, but if you have a Cubone and you run into a defensive archetype, which I think will be a lot more viable now that we've got bulkier mons running around, Cubone can just wreak havoc on those types of builds. Moving on to a Pokemon that will not be very good, we've got Execute. See, Execute could have been kind of neat in a way, but Chlorophyll got banned, so it can't really do anything. It can teleport, but I mean, that's it. It's got really good defense. I won't say it doesn't. It's got like base 80 defense. You can hit 18 defense on this if you go full investment, which could be interesting. But you're 4 times weak to U-turn. That's not great. You're weak to knockoff. That's not great. You're free invite to Stunky almost. I mean, you do have sleep powder to maybe deter that, but execute I don't see doing much. You might look at it. You might be looking at his move pool and be like, oh, it can run Wish. No, you can't. Wish is locked to a Generation 3 event where its ability was Chlorophyll, and because you can't run Chlorophyll, you can't run Wish. You also couldn't run Wish Teleport even if you could run Wish, because they're just not compatible moves. So yeah, Execute got kind of messed up by the whole Chlorophyll ban, and as a result it shouldn't really be seeing any usage in LCUU. Fletchling got a bit of a buff this gen, in the form of two things, both listed there: heavy duty boots and a new flying type stab that's actually kind of decently strong. Double hit moves in LC are always beautiful. One, number two, it's 80 base power, so aerial ace is what, 60, so I mean that's a decent boost on it. But heavy duty boots plus heavy duty boots basically guarantees that you're gonna be able to get off at least one priority attack on something. So I think Fletchling could be really good, especially as an emergency check to things such as Scraggy or Dwebble or Shelder, or even just like faster stuff in general, your Ponytas of the world, things like that. Can also get a priority defog while it's got Gale Wings active, which it is more likely to have with the heavy duty boots. I think Fletchling could be pretty interesting. It's definitely going to be a mon I'm going to try out and use a bit in my teams. I'm not sure exactly how good it will be, but I could see it making a name for itself, especially with it not really having any competition in terms of being a flying type, especially a physical one. So yeah, no, I definitely keep an eye on Fletchling. I'm pretty excited for it. Next up, we've got Faux Mantis. Faux Mantis got really boned by the lack of hidden powers coming around now. Contrary Leaf Storm is literally all you can do with it now. I mean, you've got defog as well, but like, yeah, you just have no coverage moves. So I'm thinking like a Scarf set is probably the way to go. Just like get rid of all of the grass resists and hope that your Faux Mantis can snowball sweep the late game or something. Other than that, like, you can, like, it has Weather Ball, but like we don't have Auto Sun, so it's like, ugh, yeah, man. I'm just I mean, you could run it. You could run Weather Ball Faux Mantis with Hippo and Bop like Sandile, and that'd be kind of neat, But yeah, I don't expect Faux Mantis to be very good. But I mean, Contrary Leaf Storm is always pretty cool. Happini, don't use it. It's no chancey. Horsey's interesting one. It got Flip Turn, but its role would be as a special Swift Swim sweeper, and where it'd be competing with things like your Mantikes, your Psyducks, and it doesn't really have a whole lot going for it over those. It's got the worst coverage of them. It is technically the strongest, and its HP is low enough to actually hit Life Orb number, but I don't really see Horsey. I don't really see Horsey doing a whole lot, but it's cool. Igglybuff, Ignore. Larvesta's looking pretty cool. It doesn't really have many flying types to worry about, other than Fletchling. I mean, technically Woobat and Natu exist, but like I said, why would you be running flying type coverage on that? It doesn't hit anything that your Psychic doesn't, other than flying type coverage on that doesn't hit anything that your Psychic / Heat Wave doesn't. Like, don't run Air Slash on your Woobat or Natu. But anyway, Larvesta no longer has Archon to worry about, and that's gonna be pretty good for it. It's got Boots technically to make use of, which should help out a lot. in terms of like just dealing with the rocks and stuff. But Larvesta is a mon that likes to eat knockoffs usually, especially with its flame body ability. But you know, it can be pretty cool. It can run Wild Charge, it can run U-Turn, Leech Life even, Flare Blitz. You can even potentially mess around with the Calm Mind set. I messed around with Calm Mind a bit last gen. It was kind of fun. Occasionally not the best, obviously, but you know, Larvesta should have a good time in UU this time. Next up, we've got Lickitung. Lickitung, I expect to be pretty good. It's got a variety of coverage options, both physically and specially. It's a Wish Passer for bulky teams. It's also a Cleric for those teams. It can set up with Curse. It's got Body Press now, which is kind of neat. Lickitung I expect to be pretty good. It's got Knock. Lickitung should be great, especially for those defensive archetypes that are going to be newly viable. Next up, we got Lilipop. Lilipop is like, why would you run Lilipop? I don't, like, technically it's got some coverage, I guess, but like, I don't, like, why would you run Lilipop over, say, Minccino or Meowth or even Buneary? Like, it's not really doing anything for you. So yeah, probably don't run Lilipop. Moving on, we got Petalil. Now, if you thought Execute was boned by the Chlorophyll ban, Petalil absolutely was completely destroyed. It's got literally nothing going for it. Don't even consider using it. It's terrible. Like, this thing is like, even if Chlorophyll was around, it would be outclassed by Cherubi. But unlike Cherubi, who gets to sit in LC Ubers because its only ability is Chlorophyll, so can at least pretend that it was broken, Petalil just has to wallow in its own just abject failure of being terrible. Cute Mon, though. And speaking of cute mons, we've got Poliwag. I love the Poly line a lot, actually. Unfortunately, though, Poliwag has never been stellar. It's a 19-speeder, which is pretty nice. It's also got Belly Drum, which is kind of neat, but it lacks the coverage physically to really do stuff. It's got, like, Water Stab, and then it relies on, like, normal type attacks. It like return, but return's gone. I think it gets double edge, but especially it's got a bit more coverage in that it has Ice Beam and like Psychic, but it's not very strong. It only has like base 40 special attack, is like base 50 attack. It's just, Poliwag's not going to be very good, but I do like Poliwag. It's got Hypnosis if you want to try that out. Moving on, we've got Psyduck. Psyduck could be pretty neat in terms of it's got Cloud 9 in case weather teams get out of control, like hail or sand or something. But I don't know why you wouldn't run Lickitung in that case. Other than that, it's got a niche as a Swift Swim abuser that's like special, but its only thing it brings to the table there is that it has Psychic as a coverage move, or Cross Chop, I guess. But like, there's no Pharaoh. You don't really need to run Cross Chop. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling Psyduck, unfortunately. Yeah. Rockruff, Rockruff looks kind of okay sometimes if you squint. Like, it's cute. It has okay attack, has okay speed, but like not enough of either to be really good. It's not bulky enough to work like as a defensive mon. It's got Swords Dance, which is kind of neat. It's got Sucker, but it doesn't have a Cell Rock. It doesn't have Earthquake. It's like there's no real reason to run it, in my opinion. Next up, we got Sandile. Sandile is one of my favorite mons in that I just really love Crocodile, and one of my more favorite teams I've ever made had a Sandile in it back in ORS. But Sandile is back. Sandile's going to be mediocre as it has been for a while. Losing Pursuit really sucks for Sandile, as I was one of its major niches before. But you can still Scarf Moxie Sweep with it. Earthquake, once you remove like all the immunities or something, or even with Crunch, we don't have that many dark. I mean, well, no, we do now with fucking all the fighters that dropped, but yeah, Sandow's gonna be pretty mediocre. Overall, you can maybe get away with a like more utility focused rock setter, you know, with the Intimidate, set rocks, you click Earthquake, you might even have Taunt, but I don't expect Sandow to be great. What I do expect to be pretty good is the next two on the list. We got Sandshrew in his Alolan form, but we'll talk about the Kanto form first. Sandshrew Kanto adds a great utility mon directly compete with Baltoy in terms of ground type spinner. It's got knockoff, which is always nice to have. We're getting a lot more knockoff around, which is dope. It can P-jab, like Cottonee, Rapid Spin, pretty good, and you know, just a really good utility mon. Also, it gives Sand a speed control sweeper, as previously was locked to just dealing with Diglett, Alola, Sand Force, but now it's got Sandshrew. It can run Sand Rush. You know, you can get a Swords Dance up, Earthquake, Rock move. You know, knockoff maybe. Yeah, Sandshrew should be pretty good, like pretty usable on a wide variety of teams. Sandshrew Alola should be really good, I think, once the meta settles a bit. It provides new life to Hail teams who previously were relying on Cubchoo to be their sweeper, but Sandshrew Alola obviously hits a lot harder. It's got Triple Axle now. Triple Axle's pretty strong, though I heard that it's got the same rolls as Icicle Spear if you only hit twice, but I haven't done the calking of that myself. Sandshrew Alola's also got access to Aura Sphere. I mean, not Aura Sphere. Why did I say that? Aurora Veil. Not even close. Aurora Veil, so you can set up other Pokemon on your team to sweep, as well as having access to knockoff, Iron Head, you know, ice coverage. I mean, Ice Stab. Ice Stab is not something we deal with a lot in UU, as previously really only Snover had it going on. I also think, but I don't think that Sandshrew Alola will be relegated strictly to Hail teams. I think a defensive set on some more like bulky offense balance stuff could be pretty neat. The utility Rapid Spin provides, it also just looks a lot more threatening when it's got +1 speed, because Ice is such a good type, like offensively. I could see Sandshrew Alola being pretty neat on those types of teams. Next up, we've got Sandygast. Sandygast has Scorching Sands, so it can burn stuff now, which is pretty neat. It's also got a pretty okay special attack stat. I don't know if it's gonna be like all that, you know, but you know, I'll try it out definitely. You know, some Scorching Sands, maybe Shadow Ball, maybe Shore Up. Hex, maybe, I don't know. Stealth Rock, it can Stealth Rock, which is nice. I don't know. We'll have to mess around with Sandygast. It could be okay. Shinx is not gonna be very good. It's a physically inclined electric type with not good coverage moves, and not very and it's not very fast, and it's not very strong, and Shinx isn't good. Who is good is Skrelp. Skrelp is one of my favorite mons to use in LC, like just period. It's so strong with adaptability. It got Flip Turn now, so it can really take on that role of being a cool water type pivot. It's got, you know, its dual stab is really tough to switch into, and it's got Thunderbolt for the few things that can actually switch into it, aka Frillish and Tentacool. Another Skrelp, really. I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, bless me. Sorry about that. But yeah, no, Skrelp should be great. It's got T-Spikes. Yeah, what's not to love about Skrelp? Yeah. Moving on, we've got Slowpoke. Slowpoke is going to be pretty good. It's got regen, which is pretty dope. It's got pretty cool coverage, especially. And then it can run Fire Blast. You know, you can it can run Teleport. It's got Scald, Psychic. You can T-Wave stuff. Slowpoke should be pretty good. It's really bulky. Like, not much can take out a Slowpoke in one hit, at least on the physical side. So I'm looking for Slowpoke to be a pretty good Pokemon in the metagame. Slowpoke Galar I expect to be less good, simply because I think the water typing adds a lot to Slowpoke's ability to be good. Water is just a really good defensive typing. It adds a lot of utility in general, gives you that stab, Scald. And yeah, I don't think there's ever been a good defensive psychic type, especially not in LC. I don't see Slowpoke Galar breaking that mold if regular Slowpoke can't. Moving on, we got Tentacool. Tentacool's looking pretty cool. Rapid Spin, knockoff. It's got really interesting offensive options as well, between Giga Drain, Ice Beam, it's dual stab. You can run Swords Dance if you want to. No, I don't really recommend that, but I think Tentacool will be a staple on bulky offenses, maybe even more balanced teams, as their spinner of choice, and maybe possibly Toxic Spiker. Tentacool should be really good. Next up, we got Venipede. Venipede is gonna fulfill the same role it always has as Suicide Spiker. You run this with Speed Boost, Spikes, T-Spikes, Endeavor, who gives a shit about your last move, and you lead with it. You try to get down as many hazards as possible, and you go on with your day. It's not really gonna be. It's gonna be whatever. Run it on HO if you want. And yeah, should be cool. Whismur doesn't even get Boom Burst. It's trash. And lastly, we've got Zorua. Zorua could be okay, I think. It doesn't really have excellent coverage. Knockoff is always kind of nice, though. It can Swords Dance. I think it can Swords Dance. But it can definitely Nasty Plot. It can Sucker Punch. It can knock off. It can run that new Burning Jealousy move for some fire coverage, which is potentially nice. You can potentially surprise people, thinking that you're leaving Pancham on Ponyta Galar only to Sucker Punch it and die or something. But I don't expect Zorua to be all that great, but I mean, definitely usable. Okay, that was a lot of talking, but we've gotten through every single Pokemon that has been added to LCU post Isle of Armor expansion. That was quite a bit, but most of them I expect to be like mediocre to like a bunch of the new stuff that we got up at the top here I expect to be quite good, but I hold out hope for things like Fletchling even. I think the Sandshrews will be quite nice to have. I think Lickitung will be really good. But yeah, so that's the changes that we got in the Isle of Armor expansion, and yeah. So moving forward, I'm gonna try to put out another vid talking about the mons that were already in UU and how, and go winners losers on those, and then maybe talk about some like cores and things that I could see working out well in the LCU metagame. Just kind of build up a little intro series guide to LCUU, try to get more people playing it. But if you enjoyed and actually sat through the whole thing, good on you. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye bye.